Hi, Joel Rollins here for Rave TV on day 2 of InfoComm 2016, first thing in the morning, and I'm sitting here with Eric Larsen of Tascam. Eric, thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Good morning. How are you?
How's the show going for you so far? How's the first day?
It's been fantastic. They actually did turn the air conditioning up in the early morning, which was nice. You know, you kind of walk to the hall and you're just, sweating like a dog. Once you get inside, it's all happy business, and it's been a very good, busy show.
For you out-of-towners, it was 108 here yesterday.
So this dry heat nonsense,
yeah,
they're lying to you. It's just miserable.
They can't figure out why the crew wants to work late. It's all that we don't want to leave the building.
Yeah, you'll die.
Yeah. So what's new with you this year?
We've got a couple different things specifically for InfoComm. As you know, with Tascam, we've always made sure that we had something that was on the cutting edge of both recording and playback, and that's core to both the Tascam and TIAC brands. So this year, our flagship product is the DA6400. And this is something that's brand new that's just blowing my mind. In a single rack space, you've got 64 channels of digital audio recording and playback. It's all to solid state drive. You can support it with a Dante interface, with a MADI interface, and then coming up soon, we're going to have a variety of different analog I/O cards for it. And this is something that you can use for a variety of sources. We saw this originally and said, well, this is great for people who are doing live recordings of major bands and they want to kind of get a backup on the way to their Pro Tools rig. And people are absolutely using it for that. What's also nice now is we're finding out that houses of worship have a huge market for these, where they actually do want to record everything coming off the stage so they can immediately send a podcast out into the service. We have people who are using the same thing in a playback way, which is kind of interesting. When people are coming into church in the morning, they'll use the playback where 4 channels go to the lobby system, 4 channels go to a nice system with different audio in.
So it's also matrixed.
It can be, but you basically in the outputs. You basically just have 64 outputs. So depending upon how you author your content, you can make it so you have just different content that's directed towards different places. People are using this for museum installations. So you basically have one transport, but depending upon how you author it, you can get some pretty good flexibility out of it.
I'll also say that Eric did Rave a real favor and rescued our podcasting station.
I'm not sure if you needed a rescue, but as a marketing guy, I am thrilled to get Tascam logos wherever I can.
There was a really, really neat new product that we looked at with 2 inputs and the ability to record sounds for a podcast.
This is kind of a nice product. This is something I'm very excited about. I can't say the name, I can't say how much it's going to cost, and I can't say when it's going to be available, but coming soon to a retailer near you. This product is designed specifically for podcasters. And we have a lot of podcasters out there who got their inspiration from radio. And so what we're doing now is we're saying, well, here's your mic input or your instrument input. We also let you assign and basically select any 3 MP3 or WAV files for whatever sound effects, car crashes, glass breaks,
rim shot,
whatever you want. We've got one button which gives you voice effects, so it's the male to female, form and change, male to female. You've got all the chopper, the radio sound effects. So basically, you run through this thing and you're your own morning zoo instantly. And we think, there's so many people out there who want to get into podcasting, they want to communicate, they want to take their voice and share it. We see this as being exactly the same as what we did with the Porta Studio 30 years ago. You had somebody who played guitar who wanted to record it and share it.
Right.
Now there are people who don't play guitar, but they talk and they think. They want to take that and they want to share it. It's exactly the same program.
Yeah, I tried, I was a guitar student for a long, long time, and then one day I heard a voice telling me to, give up playing guitar and go into podcasting. It was my guitar teacher.
Yeah.
And, I just thought that this would be a good thing to do. Now, your card also says TIAC on it.
Yep.
Where's TIAC today?
So TIAC is exactly where they always have been, and they're really at the pinnacle of audio playback. The company started as TIAC back in the 40s, and the goal was to make sure that we could provide the absolute best music experience in the generic terms possible. Then in the 70s, we formed TIAC Professional, which became Tascam. So Tascam is effectively a daughter brand of TIAC. So one of the things I always like to say is that, we basically go from the record button to the record player. I mean, we really are that. So it's such a nice lineage because we are the people now that really understand digital audio more than anybody else. We have the highest end digital encoders on the front end for all the recording studios, and then we've got a range of turntables with digital outs in the TIAC brand. We've got some high-res audio players that can play up to 192 24-bit. I mean, I was flying here listening to Tommy at 96K 24-bit on the plane. And it's just phenomenal. So, our goal is to really make sure that we can not only control the entire recording ecosystem, but deliver the right tools for everybody. Whether or not you want to make music or listen to it, we've got you covered. And that's where I think the two brands have that synergy that you just can't beat.
Wow, not only do the specs impress me, the fact that you were listening to Tommy does too.
Well, I won't go. I can't say it's the best recorded audiophile track in the world, but it's one of the best albums ever made, and I know it.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of people that talk about high-res audio, people will come in and they'll play these esoteric tracks or these tracks recorded specifically for the demo, and quite frankly, unless it's a piece of music people love, they're not going to hear the differences.
Right.
You have to have an album, you have to listen to Pet Sounds on vinyl, on cassette, on MP3, on 8-track like we all did, and then listen to it as HD audio to understand, because high definition audio is not something where, oh my God, I never heard that there was a bassoon part. It feels to me like the first time you go through a car wash in 6 months and they finally clean your windshield, everything is just kind of clear and defined. It really is that. I think what's happened now is audio and digital have become enemies as far as terms in the past 15, 20 years. I think the average person out there listens to digital audio and says, well, it's kind of compressed, it's crummy, it's low res, because that's what they have been taught.
Right.
Digital doesn't mean that. We're to the point now where technology has progressed so far that digital signal, digital recording, digital processing, the waveform produced by that is virtually indistinguishable from the original waveform on the master, whether it be digital or analog. And that's what the goal always was. So I don't think that our high-res digital sounds better than good analog. It's the same experience. You basically are now hearing what was heard in the control room for the first time.
Right.
And that's what I'm just so excited about, because it's thrilling to me to hear that music listening is becoming the hobby again. It's becoming the activity. Mm-hmm. For so many years, I think you probably noticed the same thing. Music was a background. It was something you did while you're doing something else.
Right.
The days of going, oh my God, Abbey Road came out and sitting at the edge of the bed holding the record cover have kind of gone away. Those days are coming back. People have listening chairs right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, things like, I'm starting to see, and this is something that bothered me for a long time, and I'm starting to see going away from it.
Let it go,
People
man.
went from...
Just gotta let it go.
Okay, I'll let it out.
You gotta let it go.
People, when I was at the launch of the iPod, matter of fact, I have iPod serial number 63 because I was at the launch, and not all of the press took their free iPod, because people are looking at it going, why would I want to rip all my CDs? I've got a Walkman, right? And Tex, though, walked out of the door going, this changes everything.
It changes everything.
Right? So the thing that went with that I didn't care for were earbuds.
Yep.
Right? And the other thing you see coming back now are people with their portable listening with real headphones.
Yep.
And starting to see that the brand and quality of those headphones are making a difference.
They are.
Right? I'm starting to see people with your headphones, with AKGs, with with real brands. And not just because they're noise canceling or whatever, but because they're listening to music with that level of quality now.
And I think it's all part of what's happening in technology. There is no way that I'm going to throw a rock at an iPhone or an iPod. They're beautiful devices. When those came out, memory was the limiting factor.
Right.
And if you wanted to have a reasonable amount of music that you could carry with you, you had to compress it. And the compression was okay. You could still hear the melody, you could still hear the lyrics, you could still listen to the song. But as things are progressing now, memory is less of an issue, processors are becoming faster, so the world is just changing. So now effectively I can carry the same number of songs, it's simply at a higher resolution. It's no different than watching VHS to 4K.
Right.
It's exactly the same evolution, and I think if people can look at the analogies between what they used to see on TV and they can now see on TV, it's exactly the same thing for audio. So we're simply catching up. It's getting to the point where now your TV looks as good as it could look in a theater. Do you have the popcorn? Do you have the 40-inch screen? It's a little bit of a different experience, but the quality can really be there. I think audio is getting to the same point, and we want to make sure that happens from the Tascam point, from the diaphragm on the microphone to the diaphragm on the speaker. We want to make sure that we can keep everything as pure and as easy to use as possible.
That's great. I've always thought of Tascam. I grew up in the AV rental industry, and our portable recording shelves were loaded with Tascam.
Yeah.
And still are. My studio is. So what's next? Where you've got two really important brand names to work with here. Where does that go? And in terms of over the next 5, 10 years?
You know, one of the things we're able to look at, especially from the Tascam line, and we're showing some of that at the booth right now, is we've got a number of different products. We've got our handheld recorders. We talked about the podcast product, which, you know, again, I can't talk about, but coming soon to a retailer near you. And we've got a lot of these different products. What's nice now is a lot of these product categories have matured enough in our engineering that we can now talk specifically to the artist and make workflow improvements. And that's the part that I find to be most exciting. So if we talk about a couple of things, you said earlier you have one of our DR40 handheld recorders. We now have the DR44 WL. So a couple things we've done. We've put it in a slightly more robust case. We've added a few more little protective wires above the microphones to make sure that when you drop it, you don't see the, you know, types of things. We basically listen to the customers.
It is a when you drop it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's face facts. Everything's like that. I mean, that's why I have a case on my phone, because it's going to drop. But one of the things we've done is we talk to people. We've now put a little thumb cover on the thumb wheel for the gain knob just to protect it from accidental bumps. We've always watched that, but we talked to people who said, it would be cool if you could. So we did that. But when we went from the DR40 to the DR44 WL, the other thing we added was Wi-Fi. We talked to a lot of people who said, I've got this thing 100 feet away from me, and now I got to run 100 feet of cable to be able to record. But I don't really want to run that much cable, or I don't want to run out there. I'm talking to one gentleman, the guy named Rick Allen, who's out in Scottsdale, Arizona. He does a lot of sound effects recording, and he was doing some stuff with live gunfire. So he was basically having to run that out there, and he wants to record the hits and he wants to record the firing, so he's using dual recorders.
Right.
So with the Wi-Fi, he can sit back behind the yellow line, he can pull out his phone, he can basically connect to the remote recorder, he can listen remotely to make sure he's getting a good signal, he can then go into record from his iPhone. When he's done, he can download the file remotely via Wi-Fi, so he doesn't have to send his intern out downfield to go out and push the button and then run like hell back.
Okay, so we're not... Because I was about to say that, you know, it's interesting. I have a really, really good friend who works for Electrosonics. And when they brought out their newest microphone system, I was at an InfoComm several years ago, and he looked at me in the audience and said, Joel, if you could replace every wireless microphone that you own, what would you replace them with? Expecting I was going to say his brand. And I said, XLR cable.
Yeah.
Right? So Wi-Fi you're using for control and for moving the file.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes, you do have real-time monitoring before you move into record mode. At that point, it's kill. But we talked to one guy, and this is fascinating. He's doing nature recordings. And if you walk up in the middle of the night in a swamp to a bunch of frogs and stick a microphone in their face, historically they shut up.
Right.
So what he's able to do is basically put this on a nice tripod, set it up, get it where he wants. He can then go 50 yards away and just sit quietly. When they start to sing again, he hits record. So it's one of those things that works great. It's also great if you don't want to be that guy at the piano recital, because nobody wants to record 12 hours of 9-year-old kids playing the same piano tune. And you don't want to be that guy who runs up when your kid's about to start and throws a recorder up, and then when your kid's done, goes up and grabs a recorder and runs back. You can sit in the audience, the recorder's on stage, you record your kid, you stop recording, you grab the file, you post to Facebook, and you're done. And nobody knows that that's the only one you're listening to.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question I should never ask anyone in marketing for a manufacturer.
Fantastic. Twice, but I was young.
But, yeah, I was going to say, but...
I'm sorry.
Not going there.
Okay, I didn't know.
All right. But you brought a lot of your new stuff here.
Yep.
But you are also an audio guy and a musician. What would you personally consider the coolest thing you have in your exhibit this year?
I think for me the coolest thing in an odd way is the BD01U. And this is a single rack space CD, DVD, Blu-ray player. And I take this with a little bit of a badge of honor. When I was talking to some buddies in Silicon Valley before I flew out here for this show, they couldn't believe that we were launching a new Blu-ray player at this
I can't believe it now. Now tell me why.
The world outside of this little bubble in Silicon Valley and in InfoComm still has CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. When you're talking about houses of worship, when you're talking about schools, when you're talking about boardrooms, that content is still the content they want to have. And I love the fact that we can still come out with a product that's built with the Tascam quality, the Tascam video and audio capabilities. We've got it balanced out, and it's built like a tank. So we're still supporting the people who need to get the work done. With Tascam, we've always been building products for the people who want to do the work. And at the end of the day, it's the person who wants to watch that Blu-ray. One cool feature is we've got a little USB port. So when you've got all your projectors, all your screens around your corporate headquarters, your church, your school, when you're not playing Blu-rays, they don't have to be dead screens. You can put a thumb drive in there with JPEGs, and it'll play a slideshow. So it can be the daily menu, the schedule. Now it can basically use all the screens for digital signage.
Well, let me ask you this: it's rack mountable,
of course.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we have noticed is that over the last couple of years, we still I mean, customers specify a new room, they've got to have a CD player, they've got to have Blu-ray player.
Yep.
We've had to go consumer and use infrared for control because they're just not out. You have control capability?
Yeah, I mean, we still do. It does come with infrared control. You can use it for that. Comes with a handheld remote control, but it's also got Ethernet and RS-232 for machine control.
Okay, I'm actually going to come see this.
Yeah, it's a very nice piece. And of course, because we're dealing with this market, you do have the ability to make sure that you're turning off the on-screen display. It's a detail, but it's an important one.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, that was annoying.
Is that my mom?
No.
Good. We have had that discussion.
Okay, final question. And I catch people on this one every time. What's your booth number?
Booth number is 12045 in Central Hall.
12045 Central.
I'm probably pretty close. If I'm not close, just look for the Tascam sign, you'll find it.
Eric's been great, and he's given me a lot of really good information. Stop by and see him.
Thank you.
Eric, thanks for being with us.
A pleasure. Thanks very much.